Off the bench Saints. Are the Saints looking to move up in the first round of the NFL draft? Is Trevor Penning on the trade block? So I've seen a lot of articles. I've seen a lot of videos, headlines, thumbnails, if you will, about the Saints moving up, and more specifically, the Saints trading Trevor Penning. Now, my big question for this is who the f*** would trade for Trevor Penning? I mean, what market could he possibly... This is the most like Madden idea of all time, where it's like, well, we have this guy who sucks. Maybe we can trade him to move up in the first round. Like, why would anyone do that? I don't like forecasting trades because it's such a domino effect and it's such a like hypothetical, playing God type situation. So I usually stay away from the trade hypotheticals when it comes to the NFL draft, but I will listen to what the good folks over at Off the Bench are cooking up, and we will react.
Interesting trade proposed, Jake, by Bill Barnwell. And I
thought
want
you
to
were
see
about to
if
say
you...
about Taylor.
No.
Bill Barnwell, ESPN writer, I'm pretty sure he did an article of like a trade for each team. So he was basically hypothesizing, possibly the word of the day, if that is a word. He was hypothesizing a trade for every single team. And I guess the Saints one landed on Trevor Penning, trading up. Now, I'm not sure who the Saints... So I talked about this a little bit. I'm not sure who the Saints would move up to get. One that does make sense, I'm not sure a lot of people are talking about, is if Joe Alt were to slip past 5. Now, you might be saying, James, how's he going to slip past 5? Well, just relax. I'm going to tell you. If the Chargers decide they need a wide receiver or they need something else, Alt falls, then Tennessee decides they need a wide receiver, would it be that crazy? I don't think so. I don't think it'd be that crazy if at 5 the Chargers go Malik Neighbors and then the Titans go Odunze. Or what if the Vikings trade up with the Chargers? The Vikings want to trade up from, I believe, 11 to 5 to get J.J. McCarthy. The Chargers now go to 11. Now all you need is the Titans to drop to let them slip. So if the Titans don't draft him there, let's say the Titans draft Malik Neighbors, then the next landing spot would probably be the Jets at 10. If that does happen, I feel like I'm in a beautiful mind or something. If that does happen, you could really flirt with the idea of trading up from 14 to 9 to draft Joe Alt. Now that makes sense if you're going to trade up to do that. I'm not sure who else you would realistically trade up to draft. I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, no. Yeah, right. Probably
a draft machine
would be
draft.
just as likely.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Bill Barnwell knows the Saints need a tackle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He is
allegedly they need a tackle, because what if I told you now? Listen, between me, you, and the camera, I usually have a pot of coffee a day. Okay. Everyone knows you got to stem up to stem down at night, right? You stem up during the day, pre-workout, caffeine, high levels of coffee, and then at night you stem down, whether it's red wine, a couple martinis, an old-fashioned, 6 to 7 beers, whatever you want to do. That's the rule. You stem up to stem down. I usually have a pot of coffee. This right here is I made another cup of coffee after that, so this is the bonus coffee. So I am zooted right now. I am absolutely fired up right now. So I'm not even sure what the hell T-Bob... I'm not even sure what the hell he was just talking about. Oh, I remember now. So what if I told you that the Saints like Trevor Penning? What if I told you that Ryan Ramczyk's knee is cool? He will play every game this season. If I told you those two things, all of a sudden do the Saints need a tackle? No. The answer is no. If those two things are true, the Saints do not need a tackle. So then what do you do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You take 99.9% of these mock drafts who have the Saints taking a tackle, ball them up and throw them in the trash. That's what you do with them. So this consensus that the Saints need a tackle, that is really contingent, possibly second word of the day, that is really contingent on the Saints not liking Trevor Penning and really contingent on Ryan Ramczyk's knee turning to dust. And when you think about everything the Saints have said about Trevor Penning, that they do like him, they invested a first-round pick in him, they believe he can develop. When you hear all that, it's like, We're 99.9% of these mock drafts are taking a big leap of faith that the Saints do want to move on for Trevor Penning. They do want to just eat that. They do want to just eat that first round pick. And then a lot of people will say, "Well, you can move him to left guard." But this guy couldn't. What are you talking about? You draft him to play left tackle. You give him whatever, a year-ish, depending on how you look at the injury and all that stuff, a year to play left tackle, and all of a sudden now you're going to say, hey, all that development we gave you for left tackle, forget all that. We're moving you to guard, pal. Seems like a bit of a stretch, too.
Saying that it is his belief that Joe Alt is such a surefire candidate that the Saints should trade Trevor Penning, their pick at 14, and their 45, and their second-round pick to move up to 5 to get Joe Alt.
What? What was the trade? What was it? That was so much. This is Ricky Williams all over again.
Candidate that the Saints should trade Trevor Penning,
which whatever,
their pick at 14,
okay,
and their 45,
okay,
and their second-round pick to move up to 5 to get Joe Alt.
Okay, so it's just okay. I thought he was throwing another second in there. So we're trading a second-round pick. There's no way that's right. Wait, is that right? Let's see.
Get 14, okay, and their 45, and their second-round pick to move up to 5 to get Joe Alt.
Well, that's not that bad. I mean, you're basically trading a second-round pick. Well, you are. You literally are trading your second-round pick to move up 9 spots to go from 9 spots to go from 14 to 5. I mean, I don't think they would do that. Would they do that? No. No way. The Chargers would not go from 5 to 14 for a second. I would do that. So I thought we were trading our second, then another second. I'd probably do that trade.
I think it's too much. I know Alt's awesome. There are a lot of tackles in this. I know you just busted out on Penny, but I feel like a lot of these guys maybe have less bust potential. Maybe I'm just being a big school guy here. But I with all the deficiencies that the Saints have, I just don't think I agree with giving up that second-round pick at 45.
I'd be cool with it because then you got to think, if you're going to do that, you have to believe in the universal truth that Joe Alt is a legit, Hall of Fame level 11-year starter, cornerstone left tackle. Joe Alt is, for everything that we've seen, Joe Alt is the best offensive line prospect in the last 2 drafts. And he is pretty close, seemingly, to a sure thing. So, if that's the case, you got a bunch of 5ths and 7ths. You trade the second, you move up to get Joe Alt. You package the 5ths and the 7ths, some cute package, pause, to get into the 3rd or 4th. Then all of a sudden you get Joe Alt. You lose your second. Possibly you move into the 3rd or you move into the 4th. So if you told me the Saints got Joe Alt, a 4th, a 5th, let's say they move into the 6th and the 7th, so we don't pick in the 2nd and 3rd round, but we get Joe Alt, I would do that. That sounds like a good trade to me.
Especially not when you got the deep receiver class and you can add an exciting weapon there potentially. Maybe even like a Michael Penix Jr. is available there or something somehow. Like
the Michael Penix, I'm getting pissed off. The Michael Penix thing, here is the deal with Penix. Penix is old. Penix was injured twice in college. Penix has played a lot of football. Penix is an older draft prospect, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with that when a team that drafts him has to sit him, like Atlanta. Why would Atlanta draft Penix? They just paid Kirk Cousins. So at the minimum, Penix is playing, or he's going to wait for 2 years before he can play for Kirk Cousins. Same with the Saints. The Saints just paid Derek Carr. Why the hell would the Saints draft an older prospect? If you're going to draft a prospect, you better draft like J.J. McCarthy, who just turned 21. You better draft a young guy who can sit for a couple years, and then when he does play, he's not 26 turning 27 years old like Michael Penix would be. So the Penix thing is a complete non-starter. I love Penix. I think Michael Penix is the man. I just made a video talking about Michael Penix. He might be the second best quarterback in the draft. But you can't draft like that. You got to draft for like scheme and fit and roster and contracts and play time, like all that stuff when it comes to a quarterback. So it makes no sense for the Saints to be looking at Penix at all.
It's too much for me.
If you had a third-round pick, it wouldn't be, but you don't.
You can, well, hold on now. Man, there's a lot of, I'm getting told to do a lot right now by Jacob's outfit. I'm getting told to have more fun. I'm getting told to find an island in the flood. There's a lot of commands at me right now with the outfit. That's all I'm saying. I'm being told to go in a lot of different directions. If you are going to make this trade, you have to get creative. I'll say it to you in a different way. Let's say you take the picks away. Now, let's say at 14, you take Fashanu, and at round 2, you take I don't know, just name some random edge player or some random defensive tackle. Whatever. Would you trade Olu Fashanu and random second-round player for Joe Alt? Yeah. It's not that big of a difference. It's the only thing you're missing out on is that second round. And this is where I think people get really mixed up in draft picks, like trading draft picks. Because the draft pick, like a second-round pick, a first-round pick, a third-round pick, comes with all this intrigue. It comes with all this mystery. It comes with all this, it comes with all this oh, you could land the next big star. You could land the next Pro Bowler. More than likely, you're drafting an average starter. Maybe, if you're lucky, you're drafting an average guy. Who's some of our past second-round picks? Who in the last couple of years? And just say them. I know Brian Brzee was not a second-round pick, but let's say you had to trade Olu Fashanu and Brian Brzee for Joe Alt. Okay. Sure. I'd do that. There's a chance that his draft pick could be a generational type guy, but more than likely they're not. Even if you go back and look at some of the worst trades in history, like the Russell Wilson trade, what did those picks turn into? Some of them were good, but a lot of them were just ass. So just because it's a pick doesn't mean it's that hyper valuable. If you believe Joe Alt is a Hall of Fame level, decade-long starting left tackle Pro Bowler, Joe Thomas, if that's what you believe he is, why wouldn't you trade a second-round pick to go get him? I don't think that's a big deal at all. And it doesn't stop you from doing what you need to do. The whole idea of the Saints need to fill their roster, the Saints need to find young talent. You can still do that. You're only missing one. You're not trading the second, the fifth, next year's second. You're not trading all these players. You're trading one player. You're trading one player, but you're theoretically, if you're making this move, you believe you're getting one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So I love it. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm I think this is the greatest trade ever. And like I said, you can take those fifths and get into the fourth or get into the third or however you want to do it and fill some of those slots. If you in the third, I know Sweat, the defensive tackle from Texas, I know he's been mocked to go in the third because of the DWI he allegedly got. Whatever I got to say, whatever legalese I got to say. But so if you come out of the first two picks with Joe Alt and then you maneuver your way back into the third to get Sweat, and then you still have a fifth and you got a couple sevenths, you can package some sevenths to get into the sixth. So now, I love it.
You don't have a third. So for that reason,
that's a good point.
It's too much for me.
Yeah.
If you had a third, God, what is that?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, yes. And for that reason,
Trade Tank.
So that's why. Because if you had a third, then you would be able to select, I think, still a really good receiver.
Yeah, true.
But you don't, obviously. And so, would you, God, where are you picking in the fourth?
You don't have a pick in the fourth. I'm not saying you got to have every pick memorized, but we have no pick in the fourth, We have a pick in the first, pick in the second, 2 picks in the 5th, and then 2 in the 7th, I believe is how it goes. Right? No, 3. We have 3 picks in the 5th. We have 1, 2, 5, 5, 5, 7, 7. Do we have a 6th? Somewhere in there. We do not have a 4th.
You're not. Okay,
You
so
go
that
from
was,
second
so
to
this
fifth.
is a
that's
Taylor
true.
take. He's been talking about how you have first, second, then you don't have anything till the 5th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
150. So you would go from 5 to 150. 150.
That'd be depressing.
Yeah, that's too much. It's too much unless you.
But like I said, if the whole thing is hinging on you don't want to go from 5 to 150, like if I told these young hombres, if I said, okay, well, what if you had 5 and then you had 64 and then you had 150 and then like if the whole thing hinges on not having a 3rd or 4th round pick, if I said we do have that and now it swings to yes, I would do it, then I think that gives credence to doing it because you do have, and that's not even including players. That's not even including Peyton Turner or any of these other guys who you can, get rid of to move up. It's not even including them. I'm just talking about picks. You do have the late picks, the late draft capital to potentially move into a 3rd or a 4th. And you could offload whoever, Peyton Turner, whoever on the roster you wanted to offload to move up possibly. So there's definitely some creativity. I don't think we can move. Like, I don't really think we can move into like the 2nd, but I think you could move into the late 3rd, early 4th. And if we're talking about, something like Joe Alt, I think it's worth it.
You got something else, but you're not going to get something else because that team taking on Trevor Penning, they would have to hope that they can figure him out. All right, so that your value to them is more in the 14 and 45. It would not be in Trevor Penning, and you don't pick again till 150.
Yeah, chat is yelling right now to stop trading up as well.
Yeah,
the
trade
only way you
back if
screw
you wanna
yourself
do
this
something.
draft is by losing future capital and trading up. But I will say this. So so we're all in agreement on that. On that, Joe Alt's awesome, but it's just too much for me.
He's great, but there's other tackles that are close enough that
Yeah.
you could get at 14, keep 45. Because
And
you
can
don't
really,
have picks.
Penning sucks, but can you afford to get rid of him? Like,
What? If you're drafting if you're drafting a left tackle at 14, you are getting rid of him. What do you mean? Can you afford to get rid of him? You are getting rid of him. Everybody in the world wants to replace Trevor Penning. What's worse? Quote unquote getting rid of him by trading him for a generational Hall of Fame left tackle, or getting rid of him, getting rid of him by drafting his replacement and telling him to go sell roasted pecans in the stands. At least you're getting something for him. What the hell? Like, you're sitting here saying, "Oh, well, hey, can you afford to get rid of him?" Well, yeah, we should draft Olu Fashanu. What's the difference?
it's kind of like a body situation. It's not unlike the Saints at defensive tackle. Like, move him to guard. Like, you got to just get something out
How
of
can he
him.
not move to guard? And I don't mean
know.
to be disrespectful to
that blows
guards.
my mind. That blows my mind.
So now he's moving to guard?
But you should be able to easily make that transition.
Just because he's a run blocker.
Yeah,
Like,
but
he's a mauler. Like,
yeah, he's not good on an island.
Yeah.
Give him some protection.
That's what I'm saying.
And Cesar Ruiz, no offense, he ain't it.
Now, Taylor, but again,
That is offense.
and he's
I
going
know,
to
he's gonna have to be it.
But Taylor made a good point, though. How many fifth-round picks do you have?
You have 3.
You have 3 fifth-round picks. Do you package those?
Yes, damn it. I feel like what the hell, guys? Am I the only person making sense around here? Am I the only person making sense around here? I mean, these two fellas couldn't make sense in a bank right now. Damn. I mean, this is the easiest thing in the world. This is the easiest thing in the world. You trade up to get Joe Alt. You package the fifths, move into the third or the fourth. All things done overall, you get your cornerstone left tackle for the next decade. You think. That's why you're moving up to get him. All for a second-round pick. Who cares? Who cares?
And try to move into the fourth and third at some point.
Maybe.
I mean, third would be hard. I don't
Third
think
would
you'll be
be
able
hard.
to get a
What
third.
are you going to get, a fourth?
Yeah, but like, again, the thing that people mess up when they think about draft picks is they always think at the top. You can move into moving into the bottom of the third and moving into the fourth can only be like 5 or 6 picks apart. So when people are like, no way you can move into the third, you can maybe do the fourth though. In their head, they're thinking like top of the third, top of the fourth. The difference between the 27th pick in the third round and the fourth pick in the fourth round isn't that many, right? So the value isn't intrinsically that much different. Yeah, obviously, if you're moving to the first pick in the third round, yeah, that's valuable. But I don't. If you can move into the fourth, you can move into the bottom of the third.
You could maybe, if there's a guy that you love in the fourth, I would be fine. I think if you moved up and grabbed that. Once you get to the fifth, it's kind of like,
look,
or maybe just throw 3 guys against the wall.
My year, I was traded, like I was a draft pick they traded for. They had to give a second to move into the third round to select me at 69.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you again, like you never know who the trade partners are, you never know who the dance partners are, and all that stuff. And then like T-Bob just said, once you get into the fifth, it's just kind of whatever. Isaiah Pacheco, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua were all drafted in the fifth or later. So in today's NFL, the draft is so much deeper. Like you can find hidden gems later in the draft. It's not like it used to be where it's like you either have a first round pick, second round pick, or nothing.
Next draft.
Yeah.
They give up a second, so I don't know.
No, you're not getting in the third. So get out your head that you're getting in the third.
2 fifths for a fourth.
Would you trade up to get into the fourth? Or I mean, at that point, I guess it can go either way. Do you just throw 3 guys against the wall and hope that you hit on one of them?
I think you throw 3 guys against the wall because unless there's somebody you love, you don't do it just to do it.
Well, yeah, you gotta have someone, and that's another thing too, where people are like, you gotta have a third round pick. And it's like, what if you don't like anyone in the third round? Like, then does it really matter? Not having that pick. If you don't love anyone there, does it really matter at all? So like, if you can come out of this draft, let's just say we have 9 picks. If you come out of this draft with 8 picks instead of 9, but one of the picks is Joe Alt, and you just don't get a second. To me, that just seems like, I don't know why the Chargers would do that. Like, the trade is Trevor Penning, we're swapping firsts, and then a second. Trevor Penning's a non-starter, literally and figuratively. He's a non-starter, so like take him out. So you're doing the whole thing for a second. And they're making it sound like that second is like franchise altering.
Well, the Saints, that's what they always say. That's how they justify their trading out. They say, oh, we love the guy. True.
But you need just able bodies right now, and you found some success. Jordan Howden in the 5th round last year, so like that was a 5th round pick that I think is going to be a really good player for the franchise moving forward. I would rather have 3 capable NFL players than say move all those picks for 1 4th rounder.
Yeah, like it. Well, it just feels.
You definitely don't do that. You definitely don't trade all 3 fifths for a 4th. I'm talking about packaging like a 5th this year and a 5th next year to move into the early 4th or something like that. Like, I'm not talking about packaging all those 5ths this year.
Feels like a bit of risk management to me, right? You move those picks for 1 4th rounder, that guy doesn't hit, well, you've wasted all those picks. Like, I would almost rather try multiple bodies and hope that you hit one of the 3 there, and it's the same thing. But I think it's just like math. It's like diversifying your portfolio in a way.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with the general notion of not giving up extra capital, future capital.
If you want to go, if you want to go, maybe
they might throw a third.
If you want to throw a third, if you want a future 3rd and a 5th to move up to the 3rd round, I can get behind that.
Yeah, exactly. So now, like that, you got to get creative. That's what I've been saying. Like, you got to be creative when you're talking about the draft, when you're in the war room and all that. And just like, it's blowing my mind that for however many months, all we've heard is the Saints need to tackle, the Saints need to tackle, the Saints need to tackle. And now there's an opportunity, theoretically, to trade up and draft the consensus number 1 left tackle who almost every analyst has as the best prospect we've seen in a couple years, the Andrew Luck of left tackles. You have an opportunity to go get him for a 2nd round pick. And all the people who have been saying Olu Fashanu are sitting here saying, I don't know. That 2nd round pick could be really good.
That's something I can get behind.
Yeah.
Like if you want to maybe.
But I don't think a team would take that.
Nobody. Maybe it depends on. I guess what else you would package. You might have to even take a 7th rounder, but nobody kicks things down the road like the Saints. So why not just push the draft a little bit farther down the road?
Hey, I'm looking at it right now. I misspoke. You have 4 5th-round picks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You have 150, 168, 170, 170.
Yeah, I knew we had 9 picks. Is that right? So we got 1, a 2, 4 5ths, a 6, and 2 7th. Yeah, that's 9. I knew we had 9. We have 9 picks.
5.
Conversation
68,
doesn't change
70,
that
and
much,
75
though.
are compensatory.
Yes, it does. It does. Because you have more capital to throw at this pick.
So you have options late to get creative with it. I mean, Mickey Loomis can't help himself. Let's be honest. He's going to trade up. I'll be interested to see what the deal ends up being. All right. So we'll see again.
Let me tell you this. I've been saying don't draft a tackle at 14 or whatever for months now. If we trade up and draft Joe Alt, I will be ecstatic. I will be thrilled. That will be a absolute home run. Absolute home run. If we trade a 2nd and Trevor Penning to go get Joe Alt, that would be huge. Huge. I'm shocked that I'm on the island here. I'm on an island with this idea that we should do it. Shocked. Ladies and gentlemen, get in the comments. I want to know what you think. Get in the comments, and should we do that trade? The hypothetical, Trevor Penning, our 14th and a 2nd for the 5th pick to go get Joe Alt. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.